Welcome to Kicking the Stigma Week. This is a very exciting initiative between the Indianapolis Colts and the Irsay family. I'm joined by Kalen Jackson, owner and vice chair of the Indianapolis Colts. We're coming off the success of the NFL draft, which is such an incredible time to see those faces that are going to join this locker room and also this Indianapolis community. And with things like the NFL draft and Draftathon and all those initiatives, you're able to use that platform of the NFL to launch initiatives like Kicking the Stigma. Why was this such a priority to launch Kicking the Stigma following the draft and do it here in 2021?
Well, like you said, the league does such an amazing job by using their platform. And I think we have always followed suit in that sense. And I think we were super excited to release our potentially final, but we hope to have more PSAs that really showcases the impact that mental health has on everyone. And if not a personal story, just that everyone should be wanting to talk about this, having this be at the front of their minds, how much it affects communities, friends, family. So to be able to have a PSA that includes such amazing Colts alumni and current Colts people, it really has meant a lot to our family to see such great feedback and really wanting to participate in Kicking the Stigma. So as everyone has seen, the PSA has Peyton Manning, Reggie Wayne, Edgerrin James, Tony Dungy, and of course our current Frank Reich and his beautiful wife Linda and Chris and my dad, and of course Darius, who has been so generous with joining us on this journey of really tackling this stigma that exists around mental health. And that's really the point of the PSAs and the point of Kicking the Stigma, is to really raise awareness and really putting a lot of resources and energy and money toward anti-stigma initiatives, but also really using the funds that we're able to raise to really get to those holes that exist in terms of getting equitable access to resources and services. It's really a big priority of ours, and we really hope that this is just, as my dad has been saying, the first quarter of a whole game, in the sense that this is just the beginning, and we really see this being a long-term initiative of ours, and we're just getting started. But I think in terms of how exciting the draft was, last week, and so much energy and focus goes into that, and so much hard work and stress, to be honest. And so it's kind of funny to tie the two in, but really, focusing on working on seeing the spectrum of mental health, that it goes from small stressors, even joyful stressors, all the way to crisis, and really talking about how mental health is health and health is mental health. And we really are excited to be kicking off our first week and our first fundraising event in the mental health space. And we just have been so thankful and appreciative of the amazing feedback and beautiful responses that we've gotten so far.
As you mentioned, the PSA was somewhat of the kickoff to Kicking the Stigma Week. We saw such powerful messages within that PSA, and that's just one of the many very powerful pieces of content, the videos that will be shared over the course of the next week. What else do we have to look forward to of the many, many activities and ways for people to get involved over the course of Kicking the Stigma Week? Because this isn't just something an event that's going to launch and you're going to hear about. There's truly a lot of ways to be actively involved in what you guys have done here.
Yes, and I think, we have spoken of this before, but Indiana, I'm obviously biased being a born and raised Hoosier, but really, I don't think there's anywhere better that rallies around a cause like we do, and like Colts Nation does. So we, of course, when putting this together, wanted to make many ways for our fans to be involved, and even people across the nation that hopefully are going to be involved. I think that's a silver lining of not being able to do this in person, is that we hope to be able to reach that many more people this way. But we've kind of scheduled out the week in a unique way, like you said, that each day is really hitting on something different and hopefully connecting with people in a different way. So starting with Mental Health Monday, sponsored by IU Health. Tell Your Story Tuesday, presented by Faegre Drinker. Wellness Wednesday, sponsored by Lucas Oil Products, and Take Action Thursday, sponsored by Huntington Bank. So each day is really going to be trying to engage people on our social media platforms, via hashtags. And obviously, for example, for Tell Your Story Tuesday, we really hope that people are inspired by myself, my dad, our family telling our own stories, or any of the interviews that we will be sharing. There's some amazing content pieces that will be shared each day. There'll be different things each day to really try to connect with people in different ways on each individual day. And I think that people will be, really surprised, but also very touched by, how vulnerable people have been. I think from Mike Epps to Jeff Saturday, from entertainment to sport, we kind of really tried to show that spectrum and show how much this affects people and how they're willing to go there and talk about it, because they realize, as much as we have come to realize, that using your platform and using the horseshoe, or for them, their platforms themselves, to really say it's okay to not be okay. I'm not sometimes. Like, every day is a different day, and be able to accept that and realize that there's someone else feeling the same way as you. And I think that, like I said, spectrum-wise, there's the other side of the spectrum where, Reggie Wayne will speak on how, he was friends with people that he wished he would have reached out more to. And through experiences that have been shared since then, that's something that he makes sure to do now. And so I think even just having that, people having the passion to really share how that's affected their lives and how it's positively affected their family and friends, because they really, learned something that they wish they would have known before. And I think having these open conversations, to me, is something that I think I've always dreamed of seeing. And I think that so many people through this process already, and who have reached out to us, feel that connection, feel that same feeling. And it's really a beautiful thing. It feels, in a way, we hope everything that we do on the field and off the field is changing people's lives for the better, and really trying to not just be, someone you see, on the field and from so far away, but really connecting with our fans on a level that's very personal. And that's why we want to share our story, and why we want to hear their stories too.
And you mentioned this is such a passion and a priority for your family. We're going to hear that very candid conversation from the Irsay family in this video.
My family and I and the Indianapolis Colts have talked about what causes we really want to get behind. And one very important cause we wanted to be advocates about is mental health awareness.
There's a lot of people who are struggling silently, and you would think everything's fine. And I think that's just a big part of where we wanted to begin, was taking away the shame and judgment that can come along with being diagnosed with a mental illness, and really trying to create compassion and understanding for them, and having what that can bring to a community, and what that can bring to a culture.
I believe, and my family believes, the more that we can talk about it, the more that I can put it on me and say, hey, look at me. I went through this, and I'm strong, and I'm healthy here today because of it. And I'm worried about my brothers and sisters that are left behind.
Mental health for me has been an important, I would say, dimension of my life. I have family members and a family history of people that have suffered from mental health issues. I experienced as a child and a young adult some traumatic things that, influenced and affected my quality of life to the point where I needed to get some help.
I'm not an addict personally, but I am the daughter and granddaughter of recovering addicts. And I think, speaking of kicking the stigma around mental health diagnosis, but it's also kicking the stigma that it only affects that individual. It affects the family and friends and loved ones that are connected to that individual, and are learning how to deal with the diagnosis and deal with everything that goes along with it.
Kicking the Stigma is our commitment to eradicating and getting this environment changed. Kicking the Stigma is our call to hope and our call to all our brothers and sisters to battle this thing.
Whether you're actually a therapist, or you're simply a volunteer and working with individuals and you see these types of illnesses come up in the work that you're doing, you would say that the biggest thing is getting them to seek help. So that's the first step. And I think the reality is having more spaces, more safe spaces for people to actually go and do that is a big priority, and we don't have enough of it.
So what I hope to see as part of the next steps in Kicking the Stigma is a continued dialogue and conversation around mental health advocacy. And I think the more of us that come forward and acknowledge this as something that needs to be a part of the conversation in today's day and age, I think it just enhances everyone's quality of life.
You know, whoever is listening right now, we truly want you to know that you're not alone. We know that this is an issue. We know that people are struggling, and we want to make it better. And please, please, please don't be ashamed to get help. It just takes that one call or that one visit to change your life. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're trying to work to get you there.
Kalen, that is one of the many videos that we will see over the course of this next week. That's one of those really early videos that was presented at the very beginning of this idea and this concept to create Kicking the Stigma, which has long been an effort and a priority of your family. As you first started releasing these messages and announcing the effort behind Kicking the Stigma, what was so encouraging about how many people and how many organizations were willing to be in support of what you're doing?
Well, it's really incredible. And I think, to have started with, kind of telling everyone what we were doing with My Cause, My Cleats and our first PSA and some of our internal videos, like you said, we really didn't know what the response was going to be. And I think, frankly, we didn't really care. Like, it mattered so much to us that we knew that this was going to matter to others. Like, we just knew it would. And it did. And, I feel so blessed because I almost pinch myself that we're sitting here now because of the connections that we've been able to make have been so natural, and we didn't seek anyone out. Everyone pretty much came to us just saying, what is this and what are you doing? I want to know more. I want to help, which I think is it was just so inspiring and really even reassured us that this was the right direction to go and that this is so needed right now. Because this was a thought before the pandemic. And now, as many people know, with the pandemic, this has only exacerbated all the issues that exist in this space, unfortunately. Hoosiers in particular, there are a lot of unfortunate statistics. 1 in 4 Hoosiers experience a mental health experience, and before it was much less than that. And I think just really, no matter which area of mental health you look at, the statistics are staggering and really, really upsetting. I think, too, as parents, I have 2 beautiful little girls who are 3.5 and 1.5, and I look at them and I think, I don't want it to be this way, when you're older. And I think specifically you look at, the second leading cause of death of kids, basically, ranging from 10 to 34 is suicide. And, that's really, I think, one that stops people in their tracks, and you think, how can that be? And I think it seems to be trending younger and younger. And I think really just trying to, help educate people about the signs and things to look for, and really making it okay to have those conversations with your kids. And I think that's a hard thing too, is how do I have these types of conversations? How do I do this? Because I think so many people are willing, they just don't know what to do. And I think everyone can relate to that. And so I think, not starting in any particular order, the organizations that we have worked with so far are MHA, NAMI of Greater Indianapolis, Project Healthy Minds, and Bring Change to Mind. And each of them really hit on some of our main focus areas that we have decided to kind of start with. I always say start with because it won't be limited to. There's so many areas that we want to help, but we have to start somewhere, as everyone knows. So, each of them tie in somewhere with, anti-stigma initiative obviously is very front and center, but equitable access to resources and treatment services, and really working on the workforce development of behavioral health. That's a big issue that I think a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people aren't wanting to go into this field for a variety of reasons, and really helping with that space is really important because we need those good people and well-trained people to help with this fight. And then lastly, and definitely not least, is peer-to-peer support for youth and families, and in the individuals obviously that are experiencing this. But so much of this, and I speak to it in the long form video, is that it doesn't just affect the individual, it affects the family very much, and it can cause some other mental health issues in the long term for those family members. And I think really talking about that openly, and that doesn't make that person bad. It's part of life. I think a lot of this stuff can feel heavy, and it can be very emotional and very, very heavy. But there are a lot of things that are lighter about this, meaning, you don't have to be in crisis mode to focus on your mental health. Like I said before, mental health is health and health is mental health. It simply could just be trying to work on your emotional fitness, as they say, which is really just trying to be the best you. Maybe you get frustrated about things more than you'd like to, or, there are a list of things. But I think just realizing and really trying to connect with people on that fact that everyone can connect to this cause in one way or another. And I think just really trying to showcase how even just working on your mental fitness, like I say, can really change the people around you and in such a positive way, and change your life in such a positive way. So we're just so excited to be working with amazing organizations that in turn we have found have been working together, which is also so nice to see in this space. Really, everyone really supports each other in the work they're doing. So really just amplifies each area that they're in by supporting each other. And we're just so happy to be on board with them.
There is so much relatability in the conversations that you're going to hear over the course of the next week. And it is so staggering to hear you say that 1 in 4 Hoosiers is battling with some element of their mental health. But one thing that we know, and you mentioned the outpouring of support, is when there is a cause, Colts Nation and Hoosiers are going to get behind it. And we know that there are so many people who are excited to show their support of Kicking the Stigma in a number of different ways. And I want to touch on, you mentioned My Cause, My Cleats, because that was the very first images, those were the first images that we saw of Kicking the Stigma. You were wearing the shoes, of course, back during the season. And that's actually something, as part of the silent auction, that some of our fans and those who are wanting to support Kicking the Stigma can get their hands on themselves.
Yeah, we're super excited because when we wore them, and I think a lot of people feel this way even about players' cleats, it's like, oh, look, I wish I could have a pair of those. And so many people reached out asking if they were for sale, and we were like, we wish they were, so that we could, put that money toward Kicking the Stigma. So I think it'll be super exciting, I think, to be able to also share that with people, and hopefully they'll wear them, because I think that's what I talked about is, the point was to announce our commitment to this, but it really does just create a conversation piece around this, which is a huge part of what this is just talking about it.
And there are a number of different buy it now items. That's one of the things, is there are a number of silent auction items and experiences that you can have from current and former Indianapolis Colts players, different things across our community to get involved with, and ways that you can actively show your support for Kicking the Stigma. A number of buy it now items, including a water bottle, a stress ball, a lapel pin, a bracelet. Kalen, what's the website where people can find out more information for those auction items, online giving, and also the text to give?
So it's colts.com/KTS, and that is where you will find everything you're talking about. So ways to donate, all of our content pieces that we're referencing. You can see, our ticker of how we're doing in terms of fundraising and our goal. And you can also, that's where you're going to be able to see all the information about text to give, which is you text Colts to 243-725. And that'll really pop up and show you a variety of different ways and giving levels that you can give. You'll be able to share a story. You can donate in someone's honor. And that's been something that I think has been so inspiring to us, is that we have seen people giving in someone's honor and sharing their stories. And I hope everyone knows that we do truly read in each and every one of those and read the individual's name that they either lost or is currently struggling. And it really just connects you to, so many stories, and you realize even more so how much this affects everyone. But I think it really is an opportunity for people to, on any level, $1 to thousands of dollars makes a difference. So I think that's why we really wanted to give a variety of ways to give, variety of ways to connect with us. And obviously the silent auction items we're super excited about. There's anything from, a meet and greet Zoom with Peyton Manning, which, where else are you going to find that? But it goes all the way to, behind the experience at the zoo, to other meet and greets with people like Mike Epps that I mentioned earlier. But the list goes on and on. So I encourage everyone to go check it out because it's a very extensive list that we're really proud of and so thankful that our friends and Colts family have been so generous to offer a lot of those.
I'm so looking forward to, as we look ahead to the 2021 season and hopefully getting fans back at training camp and in the regular season, to seeing all of the bracelets and lapel pins that people are going to be showing their support on game day as part of this big fundraising campaign. Kalen, what is the overall goal that you have for the fundraising initiative of Kicking the Stigma?
So we're excited to announce that the overall goal is $300,000. I truly hope that we blast past that, but I think it's a great goal, and we're going to be able to do so much good when we reach that goal, or like I said, surpass it. And I think so many people have asked, well, where are the funds going? What is it going to help? And so, as I mentioned, the 4 organizations that we are currently working with, but it won't be limited to that. Those will be some annual programs that we're working with them on, that some of this funding will go directly to. But we're also hoping to open up a grant program where we can really learn more about what's going on in the state of Indiana, in Indianapolis and the surrounding areas, even smaller organizations, and what programs aren't being able to be done because they don't have the funding. So we're really excited about that, just to really get to know more about this space, because as much as we are always been passionate about this and it means so much to us, we're learning every day still, and the stats are changing every day still. So really just trying to keep our finger on the pulse, and we feel like that some of these funds will really help us be able to do that.
And this is just the beginning of the week, so we will continue to keep you updated on that fundraising goal. And one of the big events of the week is this player panel, where we are going to hear from NFL players across the league. Although this initiative is founded right here in Indianapolis with the Colts organization, with the Irsay family, the spectrum and the reach goes well beyond that. As we prepare to hear from those messages later tonight, and we'll get a little preview in just a second. Kalen, what was the overwhelming thread of the conversation that we heard in speaking with these players that included Darius Leonard and then other guys in the NFL, players in the NFL like Darren Waller and Hayden Hurst?
So it was, as I said earlier, I pinched myself that I can't believe we actually got it done, because it was kind of a dream idea that we had, was to get other players that have been open about their struggles with mental health in a variety of ways to come together and work with us on this. And I think, you'll see me mention in the panel that really, truly, it comes from the belief, and we believe this wholeheartedly, that in order to make, get work done in any space, the more you can connect with people and the more you can do it together, the more you can get done. And I just am so thankful that these players, donated their time and their vulnerability. I think you'll see that would be what I would say is the theme across this panel that you're going to see tonight. Is just the strength and vulnerability and how they own their stories in such a unique way, and have, become better men and better fathers, and Darius Leonard, and just what they've learned about themselves and the strength that they have in themselves from their struggles. And I think really just showcasing that to people, and I think so many people are going to connect with it. I did. It made me emotional watching it, and how willing they were to share these stories. But I think they all have become such amazing mental health advocates because they've seen the impact. They kind of have seen what I've seen, which is the connection with people, and how their story, just simply opening their mouth and telling what's going on inside here, has helped people here. And so I think that's the overarching theme, and I'm so excited to share it. We really want to also showcase that, this is a Colts event, but this is something that affects everyone nationally, and we hope that our work in this field really inspires other people across the country to look into their own neighborhoods and their own backyards and their own communities, and how can they apply Kicking the Stigma where they live. And really, we have had multiple conversations with other owners in the league already about the work they're doing in this field, and sharing best practices of what we're doing. And I think it's just so inspiring to see the interest, and I think it'll only grow from here.
Here is a preview of tonight's very powerful conversation led by our friend Carson Daly.
Why is it important? What is it about your story? Why do you want it to open up and be vulnerable?
Because for one, I know I'm not the only one. I know that, the pain and things that, that I've been through, I know there's a lot of people who's out there suffering, and the more you talk about it, the more free that you can be.
The biggest thing we can do is talk and to be vulnerable. When I speak, I talk about the power of vulnerability, because that's when you can connect with someone. When you tell someone how you're really feeling, and you tell, hey, I'm feeling anxious, I feel awkward, weird, whatever it is, and then you create a greater connection you never felt before, and you keep talking, you keep that conversation going.
All these stories are so relatable, and I promise you, mental health affects everybody on this planet in some way, shape, or form. It does not discriminate. It doesn't care your gender, your age, or what race you are. It does not discriminate, and affects us all.
In my darkest days, I felt like I always had to please people, or I had to go to some external source to make me feel better, whether it was a bottle or some drugs or to women. That feeling that I was searching for can come from me, and within me, I didn't have to go to somebody else or any other source. Life takes a lot from us, and we have to find ways to fill our own cup. We're getting closer and closer to, having everybody have the resources to do that.
Be sure you tune in tonight, because this is a conversation you will not want to miss. Because, Kalen, as much as we hear from those players that you heard in this panel and the former players and Hall of Famers like Tony Dungy, we hear them talk so often over the course of the season and in regards to football. But this is truly like you have never seen them before, and you see those walls coming down and some very candid conversations happening that have not occurred before.
No, and I think it really speaks to, the shift that is here, and will, hopefully be moving even further with conversations like this, fundraisers like this, panels of open dialogue about mental health and struggles. And I think this is just, like I said, just the beginning, but I think it really does represent such a positive way that communities and the nation, frankly, is, wrapping their arms around this idea, and we're just so happy to be a part of it.
And we will continue these conversations all week long over the course of Kicking the Stigma Week. We will cap things off with a live event. We will update you on the fundraising efforts. We will also be joined by Colts owner Jim Irsay, general manager Chris Ballard, and head coach Frank Reich. So be sure to stay involved, stay engaged, and follow up with us for that update on Thursday.